Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Not that amazing. Would be a lot more amazing if we had some files delivered to us for our perusal. We do have some items we'll be looking at today. Of course, we're talking about Jeffrey E. You remember who he is. We got some documents that have been made available online. Many people saying it is mostly the same stuff we have already seen before. But we're going to go through and break down exactly what happened today because Pam Bondi is not happy. She sent a letter over to Kash Patel. We got The Blaze reporting on this letter. Fox News is reporting on this letter. We were supposed to get a nice dose of justice today, but they didn't deliver the files to us. Why might that be? Oh, maybe because our own government was involved in it. We'll have to go through it and see. But this is the story. Of course, we'll talk about Jeffrey and Ghislaine and all of that, but there is not much here. So there apparently is some files that are missing, and Pam Bondi wrote a letter to Kash Patel about that, and that might be why we're missing some of these items. So we'll see what the consequences of this are. I think that the likelihood that we see a lot of substantive materials from this are probably low, but we'll save that for later. Not to be a Debbie Downer on this, but just kind of makes sense. You know, if they're going to take out the dude who is behind it all, I don't think they'd leave all the files around for people to just release when they get their hands on them. So we'll see. We'll see what she said in the letter. We got reaction on this. We have the House GOP making fools of themselves. And we also have Marsha Blackburn and others that will be saying that this is just phase one, okay? A lot more will be coming on this. And Pam Bondi, right, just to be clear, she's been in office since the 4th of February. I looked it up. She got sworn in February 4th, okay? So not even a month in there. And she's got to go run around and figure out what all these little scammers have done to try to cover this up. So we'll go through the full story, see what's happening there. Then we got some major updates on the other cases. We've got 2 cases knocking on the door at the Supreme Court. Of course, yesterday, we were talking about the AIDS doctors and the State Department being ordered to turn on $2 billion, give or take, of money on for them by midnight. And lo and behold, Chief Justice Roberts had to be rustled from his slumber. I imagine he's an early to bed kind of guy. 8 p.m. He's like, all right, it's time for bed, honey. We got to wake up tomorrow and read some briefs. And then he got a phone call. You're going to have to get out of there, Mr. Roberts, and come on down here and write a little order. Because he did. And he said that that judge born in Canada, who's now presiding in the D.C. court, or over his court in the D.C. district, has, of course, been stayed. So we'll read what Judge Roberts had to say about that, and we'll go through some more filings that have happened. And we also have an effort now to impeach this judge, Amir Ali, the judge from Canada, who is ruling America now, apparently from the bench in D.C. We'll get updates on the Dellinger case. This is the special counsel case, also knocking on the door of the Supreme Court. And you can see a bunch of people filing their amicus briefs here. And more is happening. 2 letters got dropped late last night. Remember, this was the Supreme Court case that was contingent upon the ruling from Amy Berman Jackson that we learned about yesterday. So we're like, what's the Supreme Court going to do? Since she's like, well, I'm just going to extend it another 3 days. We're like, what the hell is going on? So we're going to see what they said about this. Some more letters filing in. And then we'll have an update on the FBI Doe's case, because this was the group of FBI agents who are so pathetic and cowardly that they don't want their names out if they worked on the January 6 cases. You remember this. And so they're all the Does. The FBI pathetic Does, 1 through 9. You're like, well, it's really risky out there because we probably, in my opinion, broke the law. So we don't want our names out there. So they're suing to stop the identification of the J6 so-called FBI agents and so-called prosecutors. And the government from Trump's administration just dropped in a motion to dismiss their entire case. So we'll read through that and see what is percolating there. But it's a beautiful Thursday, my friends, and I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining us on this Epstein Files stream. We've been covering this for a long time. We went through the entire Ghislaine Maxwell trial here, if you were not familiar with that. And so we were excited to see some actual files drop. But That's not happening today. Anyways, we had a great members only stream this morning. We would love it if you became a member. It's a great way to support our work. It's a great way to grab some extra content, to meet some amazing friends, and to become a member. I mean, what else is there to say? It's an amazing thing to do. So check it out. Go to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Join us on Locals. We do live streams in the morning, 5 days, 6 days a week sometimes. And we'd love to have you join us for the Saturday streams as well. If you're on YouTube, click the join button. Join us there. You get all the same stuff except the Locals only after party, which we do after the show. So check that out. And thanks for becoming a member, and thanks for supporting the work that we do here by becoming a member. All right, now, without any further ado, let's get into it. The Epstein files were supposed to be released today, and they gave us some materials. You see them here. Problem is, a lot of this stuff has already been released, and when you look into each one of these files, what we'll see when we do peer inside is that they're all redacted, and we want unredacted materials so we can read the reports and identify the names and cross-reference everybody from the official records. And so what good is it if we have material that has already been released and that is mostly meaningless? Well, we'll go through it. We'll see what's inside. We'll poke around, just spot check a couple of these files just so we can see what's in there. But the story is that these files are incomplete because Fox News and The Blaze are both reporting this. You see, Fox News gave us this headline, says, according to the Epstein files, Pam Bondi sends a fiery note to Kash Patel, accusing the FBI of withholding documents. Saying that this is only phase one, all right? There's going to be more stuff coming out later, but they've got to wrap their hands around what is ultimately happening. So here's what Fox said. Said Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a letter over to Kash Patel today, on Thursday, accusing investigators in New York from the FBI of withholding thousands of pages of Epstein documents that she has vowed to make public. Bondi said that she had requested the full Epstein case file before Patel was confirmed. We'll read the letter. As the head of the FBI, and she got about 200 pages of files. They're like, oh, just give her the menus. Give her the menus we were ordering lunch from. I don't know. The Chinese restaurant's huge. They got like 1,000 items on there. Send her that. Far less than the number of pages released last year in the civil lawsuit that was collected to Ghislaine. And we covered that whole trial here. Of course, she's the only one sitting in prison as a result of Epstein. Amazing that that's justice. The trafficker's former lover and convicted accomplice. Now, I repeatedly questioned, she said, we'll read the letter. There, of course, is Jeffrey, who apparently died. Yeah, shocking event in federal custody. Weird. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, she said, give me the full files. And here's what the letter looks like. So you can see February 27th. This letter's flying around all over the place. I don't know who the original source is on it, but shout out to them. But The Blaze posted it, and Fox is reporting on it. So here's what it says. Now, Dear Director Patel, this is from Pam Bondi over to Kash. Before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey E. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs, his list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. Of course, all of that would have to be protected, redacted, and secured before all this stuff gets dumped out to the internet. And that's by law, right? There are victims' bills of rights and victims' rights and ethical rules and all sorts of stuff that govern that. But you want to make sure that that is cleared. Now, the other justification that we were giving to Pam for not releasing these items or for being careful with the release of these items is, what if there's 200 plus other defendants who could be charged, or prospective defendants who you need to further investigate? And this morning on the Members Only stream, we were talking about what if they doged this case? Okay, Doge came in, they're like, guess what? Everybody's fired. Like 95% of you are fired. How many? 10,000, you're gone, get out. What if they did kind of the same type of model in here? Oh, we got 250 people here who all used Epstein's services. They're all getting indicted, every one of them, in like 4 days. So just get ready. Grand juries impaneled. Here you go, one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Marco Rubio looked at like 5,000 contracts last night before bed, and they're doing the same thing here, right? That would be one idea. They're going to come out, boom, indictments all across the country. Everybody who's a PDF file is getting rounded up. You'd say, okay, well, that's kind of worth the wait there, right? The last thing that we would want is for this to fizzle out or for there to be a dead end. Okay. Bondi comes in and says, all the files are gone. All the files are corrupted. We can't find anything, right? The chain of custody is broken. There was a bad agent who did some bad things, and that one bad agent poisoned the whole pot. And so now all these files are bad. And this has been going on forever, by the way, right? So like mid 2000s was when Epstein was first under investigation, and he was served custody, was released, came back into custody again. It's been going on for decades. So these manila file folders are being passed around from office to office at the FBI. And every time that happens, something is changing. It's like the game of telephone. So Bondi continues, says, look, I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents. You go 200 pages? Are you nuts? For all of this? 200 pages of documents. Do you remember how much evidence they dumped onto Trump from the January 6th case alone? It was more evidence, according to Trump's defense team, than Walmart versus Visa in the January 6th prosecution of President Trump, who never even went in the building. They charged him with made-up charges like obstruction and bad speech and stuff. It totally made up. Obviously, they dismissed that case. But the point is, terabytes and terabytes of data, millions of pages of data for Trump's prosecution. This is Jeffrey Epstein. There are hundreds of potential victims here. And he was an open criminal for decades in this country. So they sent over 200 pages. It was the Chinese food menu is what they sent her. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents that was responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI. You got everything. You got the full set. It's like a little manual. You read it when you go to the bathroom. Now, late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and the indictment of Epstein. And it should be hundreds of thousands, if not millions. All right. Now, it's not 200 pages. Now, despite my repeated request, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. And there's also the Florida division, and there should be an Albuquerque division in New Mexico. And there was one other place that he spent a lot of time in. Maybe it was California, but he had multiple places all over the country. This guy was setting up shops, and he had cameras and all sorts of stuff inside. We saw some of the photos during the trial. It was nuts. There were more than 200 pages of documents, of exhibits, okay, in the trial that we covered here. Way more than 200 exhibits. And they sent her just like a little memo. Now, when you and I spoke yesterday, Cash, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. And so just on the face of it, right? Anybody looking at this, it's 200 files. Like what is this? By 8 a.m. tomorrow, says Pam, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office. Pam's pissed, including all records, documents, audio and video recordings, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. There will be no withholdings or limitations to my or your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims and in accordance with the law, as I've done my entire career as a prosecutor. Now, I am directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order to the FBI was not followed. And that, right there is a question about this evidence now. Okay. In criminal law, we talk about chain of custody and the people involved in the processing of the evidence. And the idea is, right, let's say you get pulled over for a DUI. Cop takes you down to a station. They draw your blood at one location. Then another officer transports the blood from that one location. Let's say it's a DUI processing center set up on July 4th. They take you and they transport your blood from that location to another location. That same officer impounds it into evidence. Then the person who does the testing, the crime lab technician, they pull it out and they do the analysis on the sample. You've got this chain. Okay. One officer drew the blood. One officer transported the blood. One officer tested, or, one crime lab tech tested the blood. So you've got this chain. A gives it to B, B gives it to C, C gives it to D. Now, if something happens in that chain, one officer screws something up. Let's say the transport officer is fired. You don't know where he is for some other misconduct. Now you've got a question on what happened to this evidence when it went from A to C, because B is gone. This guy drew the blood. This guy tested the blood. What about the guy who transported it? Did he put him in a microwave or something? Did he tamper with the seal? The hell did he do with it? You don't know. So now you've got questions about that blood sample. So it's the same thing happening here. Wait a minute. You've got all of this evidence that's been passed around from one person to another. Now you've got these scumbag FBI agents who are withholding evidence against direct order. Certainly feels like that is out of proper procedure, out of process. Are they also violating proper procedure and process? Are they also maybe tampering with that evidence? Is this invalidating everything that they do still have? Because these FBI officers, I mean, they're not following the law. They're not following direct orders. So is there other instances where they don't follow direct orders? That could be a problem. It says, you will deliver me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. So those people really have no reason for violating a direct order. So now they have tainted themselves and the evidence and perhaps even committed crimes. So they're obstructing justice. That is a direct order from the Department of Justice. So I don't know what that does to the evidence. I don't know what Kash Patel's report is going to say. Deliver me a report of this. Did they forget about him? Did they file them under the wrong label or something? What is happening with the evidence? Why did you get 200 pages of garbage and they bury the rest of the evidence? It sounds like misconduct. And if those FBI agents are involved in misconduct, then maybe Bill Gates can use that during his defense. Maybe Reid Hoffman can say, no, I didn't do anything. These FBI agents are corrupt as hell. They don't even follow their boss's orders. Who knows what they were doing with all this evidence? And this evidence has been passed around for 2 decades. So it's invalid and it's corrupt and there's nothing you can do to prosecute me. I'm the victim of a political witch hunt. This is coming by Trump. And even Pam Bondi herself is admitting that the FBI is not following her orders and literally hiding evidence, right? They're saying they're hiding evidence from me. It's not just like they're just dumb. They're hiding evidence. They're not following orders. That's a problem in criminal law. And that, of course, will be exploited when the time comes. Now, I appreciate your immediate attention to this matter, says Pam. I know that we are both committed to transparency for the American people, and I look forward to working to continue to serve with you, to our president and our country. So this is kind of a mess in this. Really leads me to doubt where this evidence is or whether we're going to see anything that is substantive or material ever when this is happening. And it's Pam Bondi, okay, now admitting that the evidence was obstructed, maybe even destroyed, and that's a big problem. So Fox News also confirming the same. Bondi said previously these documents would be released. Here you can see a bunch of people got handed the Epstein files phase 1 out at the White House today. Still don't know what was necessarily in those binders. I don't think it was anything really substantive. And the New York Post is confirming the same. They've gone through the files. Let me show you what the files look like while we're here, just to parse through some of these. But here you can see files 1 through 22. Let's start at the bottom with 22, and you can just see what we're talking about here. There are going to be these Bates page references. This is how you organize a bunch of massive, pages of discovery and so on in the law. And then a bunch of these are going to be redacted. And as a reminder, right, this is a plea. This is just a court transcript. I don't know if this proceeding was under seal or whatever, but it looks like it's a plea conference with Epstein. Not a big deal. This document's like whatever. He took a change of plea in 2008. And so they're here, right? Here's a transcript. Well, we've done our due diligence. There is a residential street. There are no children there. So he can do his time over there. Several victims here. Yes, ma'am. You understand he's going to have a therapist and all this stuff. He's going to be designated an offender. He's going to have to do this as a condition of probation. Who cares? Okay, that's great. We already know he took a plea deal back in 2008. Great. Here's another declaration. The attorney for Jane Doe says, okay, we're going to be a part of this proceeding. Motion for sanctions. Great. It's all court documents. Great. There's no new names in here. This is all public record stuff. So thank you for this. And we've seen here more paperwork, attorney for Epstein, more public filings. I don't think any of this was probably under seal. I don't see any reason for it. Here's some emails, affidavit of Epstein. He says, yeah, I met with my attorneys and I understood. I finished speaking with my attorneys that I agree to all this and signed, notarized here. Here's another affidavit and so on. Okay, so meaningless documents. That was just one set of documents. Here, We've got some invoices. What is this from? Visual evidence. Oh, great. More legal. It's not an invoice for a 14-year-old girl. Don't see that on there. Although it does say Jane Doe number 4. But it's a videotape deposition, okay? So it's not any evidence of a crime. It's just official court record, so who cares? Here's another one, part 21. You can see here a bunch of additional gobbledygook. It's essentially indexing records that the computer's just printing out. So fast forward through all that. Oh my goodness, what do we have here? Could this be a police report? Sure looks like something's happening here. File number, field office acquiring the evidence. Subpoenas, yeah, this would be great. If these boxes didn't exist on here, which happen to be redacted, we can't see. Here's the message. Here's your subpoena. Here's the information being sought. Can't read it. Here's the address. No idea. Who signed for it? Can't see. What office? Gone. Here, somebody got this. It looks like it's a subpoena for Verizon or some telecom company. Says, oh, in response, a search of our subscriber database, we searched for your warrant, and here's what we got. Here's all this evidence we got right in here. It would be nice to read it, wouldn't it? Yeah. But we can't because it's been redacted, so nothing inside. A search of our subscriber database, search warrant for some cell phone stuff, all redacted. What do you need here? Redacted. Here, oh, we got some Metro PCS. Great. So some just stupid forms. Here, cover sheet, unclassified, routine. Looks like they're sending in another request via fax. Cover sheet. They're just getting his phone records. Great. So send one into Sprint and Nextel. Okay, so just some standard warrants, standard responses over and over again. You can see this entire time. Oh, that'd be a nice photo. They got a photo of somebody and somebody, but redacted. Oh, man. You can see. Looks like a nice hand right there. I don't know what that is. Is that a blouse or something? I don't know. Maybe there's a bosom tucked in there somewhere. I don't know. Hopefully over age. Now, you can see date received here. Records couldn't be converted to electronic format. So again and again, this is all, it's like it's from just a regular, legal file. And somebody sent in some subpoenas. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Somebody who I'd like to meet about me. Here's some screenshots from MySpace. Great. Everything on MySpace is redacted. Friends. So somebody's browsing around on MySpace. I don't know how old these people are on these MySpaces, but you know how it is on MySpace. You can spend all day on there. So you can see that somebody was doing that. Can't see anything of what they were doing. All redacted. And redacted here. MySpace, current and private. Oh, so somebody was creeping around on probably a bunch of young girls, and we'll never know any more about it. And hopefully they didn't get trafficked and abused by a bunch of men who are out still roaming free because nobody else is in prison other than Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, so that's 21. Let's see what number 1 has. I think most of these are pretty much duds. I was scrolling through some of them earlier. So here's one. Let's just open this one up here. Let's see what it's got for us. Yeah, so just a ton of garbage. And again, more redactions. Oh, a Palm Beach Police Department. Oh, this would be so good to read. But we can't. From March 15th through February 2006, the Palm Beach Police Department conducted a battery investigation involving Jeffrey Epstein. And this person, and this person, and this person. The facts as reported are as follows. Oh, there's a lot more here. Now, you can see a little bit. As on January 4th, 2006, I interviewed another former houseman. Person's name is Alfredo. During a sworn tape statement, Mr. Rodriguez stated he was employed by Epstein for 6 months. His responsibilities were house manager, butler, chef, houseman, run errands, and more. I asked Rodriguez about whatever happened. All of it's redacted. And here's some more redacted. And paragraph after paragraph. Therefore, as Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time of these incidents was, I don't know, hanging out with Bill Clinton and Reid Hoffman, talked to him, and it's gone. So there's some newspaper clippings. Mysterious billionaire who's probably intelligence, solicited 3 times, going after young girls, probably on MySpace. After a long probe, solicitation charges. Okay, news clippings. Everything else is redacted. So more news clippings. So all of this is public. It's not like these are secret newspapers somewhere. So we've all seen all of this. These redactions have not been unredacted. And we're at that whole document, basically. So that's 41 of 44. They sent out subpoenas from the Southern District of Florida. Are they checking the Southern District of Florida too, Pam? Because the Southern District of New York might not be the only agency, division, that is covering this up. All of this also took place in Florida. Got to check that division as well. Here you go, right? CP, disgusting. And then a lot of this got sealed, and that's the full document there. So you can spend the time going through all of these. That is over at vault.fbi.gov/Jeffrey Epstein. And here, let's just do one more. Let's pick one in the middle of the pack. Let's go to 12 and see what's here. So more indexing, tons of pages, 167 pages is this one. And then we've got, more MySpace, Palm Beach Police Department, photos, okay? So these are probably grabs and printouts from his, like, let's say they seized a laptop, right? Then they go through, they print out all his records, and this dude's just creeping on MySpace all night. Oh, gosh. Probably like Eric Swalwell does when he gets home. Gross. All right, so you can see 160 pages of this, and you can just imagine what he's looking at. All right, so this profile is set to private. Here's more. So they include all that. There's a records request that goes out. Does some map questing. Here's more. Strip club list. Pasty club. Oh, no. Table dances. 30 female dancers. Drinks are only $5.50. Man, that was before all that Biden inflation. It's pretty good. No dress codes. Feature X, like, I guess, juggling or something. And everybody is welcome. So go check out the Pasty Club and have fun with Jeffrey Epstein and co. So they're looking around. Okay, more MySpace. Again, it's all redacted. And this stuff you would expect to be redacted. Like, you don't want a bunch of randos showing up in, like, that's me. Why was Jeffrey Epstein looking at me? That's a little strange, right? You don't want kind of innocent people to be included in this, but we just get a gist of what Epstein is looking for. Now, again, very little new here is what my suspicion is. Here's page 18 or part 18, 238 pages here. And there's a lot of material in here. So there may be some new stuff that we haven't seen, but there's just 238 pages here. It looks like handwritten notes from an officer, also largely redacted. And let's see if we can piece together something, pictures before Christmas, prior to flying to New Mexico. Remember, he also had a setup in Albuquerque. Bought popcorn and Cokes, seeing them again during the trip, does not want to mess things up for herself. Okay, so he's interviewing a victim right now, and or this other woman, and something happened and something happened. Now, this happened before Xmas, this happened after Xmas, something maybe like $4,000, got paid $4,000, few $100s went to this person, gave so-and-so this, gave so-and-so that, and that's what it looks like. So more handwritten notes from a cop. So then in 1992, or she was probably born maybe 1992. When was this? I don't know. That's young. So-and-so happened, purchased tickets, worked for so-and-so. Then Jeffrey Epstein called for an interview. Then Jeffrey Epstein asked blank to his office across the street from something, redacted. Jeffrey Epstein said blank is a real blank. I could offer a much better job. So she said something, 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 not going to do much at the time, trying to redacted and redacted, plus Jeffrey Epstein redacted and redacted. Then it was not paying overtime, not getting really what Epstein wanted, so blank was gone to the gut. Uncomfortable, people not getting paid, and had to wash herself of something, redacted. And then Epstein commented something. Also, someone was a doorwoman, worked construction, the resident's door worker. She thought Epstein was home, but then turned out to have something, 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 and the office was in the residence, getting 3 more days, 3 Mondays a day, or 3. Whoa! 3 jobs a day? Getting 3 jobs a day? Whoa, that's a lot. Someone would bring girls in and do stuff? 3 something a day, I think. Yikes. And one day, something also happened, and redacted, and someone came over to her something. That was redacted. and then took someone aside and told her to tell her, sir, they were good to her. Redacted. They look like officer notes, right? He's interviewing somebody. Bring her up to someone, said Epstein wants to meet, said asked to get very done up. He had a surprise, got something, and after that, they went to come to her house. Wow, you're really beautiful, someone said. We would help you do something and find that. Would you like to do a blank with blankety blank? Gross. She is blank, 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 redacted. Someone said you really shouldn't fall or fell her, redacted, expected. Okay, so redacted. Now the next day, she was surprised. Epstein said something, and then Epstein sat next to so-and-so and couldn't tell, said don't tell, just advise it. And so-and-so kept telling redacted, needed to get a massage. So she asked if she could give a massage, pressing to get a massage. Epstein, my friend said that she would give you a massage at her residence. Massage was how wonderful and angry or something. Jeffrey Epstein, redacted. Very vulnerable or viable money, something. Hard to read. Someone studying. I will pay for college, maybe. They purchased a ticket to so-and-so. They took this person over here to this location. Don't do this. More redacteds. Epstein had blank. Saying everything is there. I knew. I really wish you would. Something nude. Called someone, put them in the book, only owns blanks. Blank went to work for something, losing somewhere else. Spent 2 days looking further, living in this place. Called Epstein. I'm unhappy with it. I quit. Rumor is that Epstein is gay. Whoa. Look at that. Rumor is that Epstein's gay. Be careful what you say around here. That's on page 28, part 18. Rumors Jeffrey's gay. Guy circles it. He's like, this dude's gay. Be careful what you say about that. Listen, call me if Jeffrey Epstein were in the hell or something, redacted. Epstein put on something, denied it then. What is this? Like lipstick or something? I don't know. Redacted. A couple of weeks later, says Jeffrey Epstein brought in a briefcase. He and so-and-so. And then 2 months later, someone else was upset, sent redacted out to something to help so-and-so. And someone got paranoid. The second visit was also inappropriate. Bathrobe on. Jeffrey and his room at this. J.E. is Jeffrey Epstein. How am I guy to watching? Well, I'm soon to bed. Got something. Yeah. All right. So you can see here are the files. Jeffrey Epstein was my patron. After he left, someone called the redacted. Trespassing. And there's a lot of officer notes here, but a lot of this is redacted. And again, I don't know how much of this is new. It's like full pages are redacted. So date received, various. This goes on for another about 200 pages. So if you want to check these out, please do so. Go to vault.fbi.gov/Jeffrey-Epstein, and it'll take you to the whole directory. And so people will be looking through these, but apparently there's not much new in here. The New York Post is even saying the same. Says they're going to release the files, but a source who has reviewed the files said the release spans more than 100 pages, which of course it's way more than that. But it includes a list of contacts without further context. Now, the person said the unveiling was likely to be a disappointment. To sleuths eager for new bombshell evidence, doesn't look like we have much of it. Bill Clinton, Gates, Andrew, Trump, they say, are among the high-profile people who associated with Epstein. There's a picture of Trump and Melania. Trump, of course, threw him out. A client list is not included in the initial release, which was compiled into binders, and they called it Phase 1. Rogan O'Hanley, called DC Drano on X, said they got the binders and then they released other materials, I guess, online. And what we saw is that Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who has been very unhappy with Pam Bondi, actually posted this today. says, I nor the task force were given or reviewed the Epstein documents being released today. A New York Post story just revealed the documents will simply be his phone book, which is already out. This is not what we or the American people asked for, and it's a complete disappointment. Get us the information that we asked for. And it apparently is just much more of the same. Now, Cernovich was there today, and he says, I can confirm this. Okay, he was inside the building, said AG Bondi released what she had in her possession for the sake of transparency. But unfortunately, some bad actors within the SDNY and the FBI NYC field office withheld documents. She's working on this tirelessly, and so we'll keep our eye on this. Kyle Becker saw the same thing, said the vault that is being shared is the heavily redacted old FBI files that we've already seen out there, so there's not much new. And again, I don't know if those people who are at the White House with the binders, if they got something different than what is on this, because I don't think we've been able to cross-reference and index those things. But here's what we have from Marsha Blackburn, who was commenting on this, courtesy of our friend MJ Truth Ultra, shared this clip with us today.
Senator, you said you're going to release what you know. What can you tell us?
Yes, indeed, and I've been so pleased that AG Bondi and Director Patel have worked with me on this. As she said, we have to make certain that these victims, and it is over 250, that their names are redacted, they are protected. And Maria, this is going to be a phase 1 release in short order. I will have the hard copy in my hand. AG Bondi is responsible for what will be the public release on this. She has worked diligently on this, and so appreciative that we can begin to get this information, that we can begin to break apart what became a global human trafficking, sex trafficking ring, about $150 billion a year business. It is time to get some justice for these victims, for these women and children, and this will be a phase 1 release. There will be more to come.
All right, so we'll see if there is more to come. Of course, Pam Bondi sent a letter to Kash Patel saying, get your people in order. Make sure they deliver this material to me immediately. Now, while all this is happening, thank you to Marsha Blackburn for keeping the pressure on this. The useless House Judiciary GOP social media account posted this today. They said, breaking, Epstein files released. This is an official government account, as you can see. All right, official Twitter for the Judiciary Committee on X. And when you click this stupid link that they created, it takes you to a Rickroll. Okay, and a Rickroll, it's one of the most annoying things on the internet. And it is this stupid thing with this stupid guy that people think is funny for some reason, and it's idiotic. It wastes everybody's time. But the House GOP did that today. They linked us over to this stupid thing today like it's a funny joke. It's not funny at all. It's childish and idiotic. Maybe they should do their job. But one person and team who are putting together some amazing resources on this, of course, is Data Republican, who has been doing more to expose this than the Judiciary GOP committee is, and posted this. Says, hey, look, we've got a new People Search prototype. Says, we're giving you a look at our people's relations, mapping networks with Epstein as the anchor node. And guess what? Each of those connections has their own graphs too. And so Data Republican has been amazing, and her work is like, she can, like Neo from the Matrix, can see the code. It's like, oh, I'm just going to manipulate the code over here and indict everybody. It's amazing. But she posted this. It's a new tool, and she's also working with this person called Watilo, who is going to make it beautiful, she says. But look what she did when as it relates to Epstein, and she makes our mind maps look like pathetic little babies. Here is what she created for us. This is a mind map to end all mind maps, and this is at the center, Epstein. And look at all these people who he is connected with. And I think the methodology was probably going from the little black book that we have seen, a lot of names in there and other stories, and she's just correlating them with all of these other people. Castro, Spitzer, Deutsch, even Trump got him on there. Johnson, David Koch, Cuomo, Baldwin, Glenn Dubin, Maxwell, obviously, George Stephanopoulos, Bill Richardson, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Alexander Acosta, Dershowitz. We've got many names on here, right? Aaron Rodgers, Alex Rosen, tons of people. Damian Williams, the lawyer, David Scone is connected here, right, according to this document, probably because of the impeachment stuff and some representation. Jamie Dillon, Ken Klippenstein, L. Lynn Wood, right, has some theories on him. So just because you're on this list doesn't mean that you are connected with him, but you've done some work on the case. Cernovich did some work on getting some of these documents published, related. I think he helped file a FOIA request at one point. Reid Hoffman, obviously on the list, as I think as someone who traveled there, co-founded LinkedIn. So tons of people, right? And this is part of the reason why I think we're probably not going to see much of these files, because this is too big and it's too broad. It implicates basically some of the most powerful people on the planet. And if our government had a say in it, if, let's say, it was a CIA Mossad operation or a Mossad CIA operation or some other intelligence operation that compromised the most powerful people in the world, they're going to do everything they can to not release it. And the idea that Pam Bondi is going to come in and like all those files are going to be sitting there waiting for her in this nice little box. Oh, here you go. Here are the Epstein files. Like, yeah, right. The people who took out Epstein or relieved him of his incarceration, either way, they're not going to let files sit around on hard drives. So we got our work cut out for us on these files. We're going to keep looking for it. But here is what Alina Habba had to say about all this. She showed up with Piers Morgan and explained what is still yet to come.
Jeffrey Epstein files, we're told, are to be imminently unleashed. And already we saw the Attorney General Pam Bondi say that the scale of what happened is far worse than anyone realized. Well over 200, maybe 250 victims, and that we're going to get information either later today or tomorrow from these files. What can you tell me about that?
I believe it will be today. I was just I saw Pam and Cash in the White House just before coming on your show. And I can tell you that I haven't been privy to it yet, but I know it is coming out. They will be taking portions of it. We have to be patient. And I said this last night at a dinner with some media. And I said, I think America needs to remember one thing. We are going to be promises made, promises kept. But when you're dealing with victims, and by the way, this is a perfect example of a case that was vetted, that went through trial, that had testimony, and was prosecuted the right way. I don't preemptively attack. That's just not the way I operate. But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
And we know that only one person so far has actually gone to prison over that whole scandal. It was Ghislaine Maxwell, the former lover of Jeffrey Epstein. No man so far has actually been put in prison as a result of what happened. Do you think by releasing information from these files,
the patriarchy,
we are likely to see criminal actions being taken?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think it would be negligent for us not to. You have to hold individuals who are indeed rapists accountable. We have to have them tried, in my opinion. And I do believe in that. You know, nobody should be just dismissed. You have to have your time in court and your case will be heard. But to hide lists, to protect political friends, all of that, we don't have time for that.
Alina was speaking very carefully there. So I'm not sure what she saw that has her a little bit jittery, it almost sounds like, when digging into this about what should be coming next. Piers Morgan asking the obvious question that we all are asking. We want the list, not because we're just curious about it, like it's a tabloid story. we're interested in justice and repercussions for the criminals who were operating under the wing of this man, seemingly endorsed by the governments of the world, colluding with princes, and the closest thing that we have to princes in the United States, which is our billionaire class, guys like Epstein and Hoffman who are hanging out with the guy. So we are hopeful that we get these files. Now, I think if today tells us anything, it is going to be a battle. Now, we're going to be here continuing to cover this as we always have. If you missed our coverage of Ghislaine Maxwell and her trial back when it happened, we do have a playlist on our channel for that, so certainly check that out. But we'll see. Pam Bondi gave a deadline on this one for tomorrow, saying, get us these materials or else. And here is what the letter said to Kash Patel. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, I want all the records. Now, whether we get the records tomorrow after she's had a chance to look at them and she just scans them and uploads them to a Dropbox drive, which we would appreciate, we hope they come soon thereafter. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we keep our eyes on this case. Now, we've got a bunch of other stories to get to today, my friends, including Supreme Court news, because this just dropped from the Supreme Court judge last night. And here is the most recent order. John Roberts had to be awakened from his late night slumber to come out and type this order to stop a corrupt federal judge called Amir Ali, who ordered the Trump administration and Marco Rubio to pay out, by some estimates, $2 billion by midnight last night. We read through the Trump administration's recent filings saying to the Supreme Court and to everybody, stop this order and do not force us to pay out this money to corrupt, waste, fraud, and abuse type of institutions. And so what the judge did out of the Supreme Court, Judge John Roberts, is he said, you are now stayed. This came out from the Supreme Court late last night, says, upon consideration of the application, it is now ordered that the orders of the United States in the case of 00400 and 00402, which were the two companion cases, the AIDS doctors and the other one, are hereby stayed pending further order of the undersigned or of this court. So that $2 billion, Trump didn't have to pay it out, meaning we didn't have to pay it out. It's further ordered that any response to the application be filed on or before February 28th, which is this week, Friday at 12 p.m. So excellent, excellent news. This thing was a giant scam. We saw that the application for the stay came in from the Trump administration immediately. And here's what that sounded like. They said, look, Your Honor, midday yesterday, a federal court district ordered the executive branch to pay nearly $2 billion by 11:59 p.m. tonight. 8 nonprofits and businesses are all going to get this money. The order also directs the State Department to pay all invoices and issue drawdown requests and more. Now, on that date, the district court entered its original TRO, and the judge is saying we have to pay. But the government has. We've complied with that order. Neither the original TRO or any of this stuff is making us pay anything by any particular dates. Now, this judge, Judge Roberts, said that their 11:59 p.m. 30-hour deadline moved all the goalposts, changed everything. It's not tailored to any actual payment deadlines at all. It has thrown what should be an orderly review by the government into chaos, John Roberts. The order does not limit its abrupt deadline to pay these invoices, and it's compelling the government to pay requests from any organization that wants money. It's just like opening the floodgates from this Canadian judge. Those requests are not even in the record, nor are the underlying contracts. The timing of this order does not allow the government to conduct any payment integrity to even review whether the payments are legitimate. The timing of the order does not even let the government ascertain whether the sums are actually due, okay? They wanted them to just hand out money to their liberal Democrat friends. The timing of this order is particularly difficult because based on the other orders, the government has been expediting review of thousands of grants. And this universal relief plainly exceeds what is allowed. And so on top of that, the district court lacked any jurisdiction even to issue this order, and the federal government has sovereign immunity over this type of breach. Now, they sidestepped those arguments, though the government raised them in opposition, and they said that as of midday, the court stated it would not consider its jurisdiction now and would listen to us later. And now it says the court is empowered to make the United States pay billions of dollars out of federal funds. That is plainly incorrect. Now, to be clear, the government is committed to paying legitimate claims. We're attempting to navigate what this court is forcing us to do, and they keep changing the rules. Agency leadership and the Secretary of State have identified payments that are going out. But what we're not going to do is pay arbitrarily determined payments on some artificial demand from some judge. The order appears to contemplate $2 billion being just shoveled out the front door, and the judge ordered it to happen. This order, worse, also exposes the government to risk of contempt proceedings and other sanctions. Agency leadership, including Marco Rubio, has determined that ordered payments cannot be accomplished. It would require many trials and discovery and all these things. And their jurisdiction is literally an injunction. This judge is forcing us to make payments. The Court of Appeals won't rule on this, and so Supreme Court, we need you to do that. And of course, the Supreme Court did that. So this was the application for a stay. The order that resulted in the aftermath is the one that we just read. And it looks like this, saying, from John Roberts, get us your further briefs by this Friday. Of course, we're going to be here to cover what those briefs look like. Now, in the meantime, Representative Andy Ogles has just dropped articles of impeachment against this district court judge. And there's a great conversation that's being had about what the impeachment standards are for judges and whether that is the only mechanism of removal and whether formal impeachment is necessary to remove judges who hold their terms during good behavior and is acting like a lunatic who's just bent out of shape because of the 51st state comments. He's like, okay, 51st state, how about this? How about I just steal $2 billion from you is what this judge is thinking. So now that doesn't sound like good behavior to me. So Representative Andy Ogles agrees maybe this is something that reaches to the level that warrants an impeachment. And here's what the impeachment articles say. Be it resolved that Amir Hatem Mahdi Ali from Canada, a judge of the United States District Court for D.C., is hereby impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. This is just the article and the resolution to be introduced. It hasn't happened yet. Article of impeachment has now been exhibited in the House of Representatives for the people of the United States of America and against Amir Ali, saying that he's a judge and he is engaged in a pattern of conduct that is incompatible with the trust and confidence placed in him as a federal judge. In fact, here's why. In 2024, in a written statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Judge Ali asserted that a judge must decide issues based on an impartial and objective application of the law to the record before the court, which is like what you copy and paste when you're running for a judge. In issuing a temporary restraining order against, quote, pausing the funds of Trump's order, Ali has without merit marginalized the president's Article 2 authority, which vests the power to conduct foreign policy in the president, and has further compromised the fiduciary obligation to review federal agencies and programs. Now, this patent violation of constitutional precedent, which necessarily precludes an explanation based on ignorance of the supreme law of the land, is entirely inconsistent with serving the United States as a district court judge, saying Judge Ali, in mandating the immediate outlay of funds in direct contradiction to Trump's executive order, has done so in a manner that is arbitrary and capricious. The understood purpose of the president's order was to review these programs for consistency with American foreign policy, but by mandating the immediate funding disbursement that were paused, Judge Ali did so with no consideration for the troubled history of USAID. In fact, a March 21 GAO report indicates that USAID did not consistently ensure that subawards provided for projects in the Gaza Strip and Judea and Samaria complied with the regulations aimed at preventing financial support for terrorism. Oh, wow. So this judge is incidentally funding terrorists. That sounds criminal to me. More recently, in November 2024, USAID was found to have financed hundreds of thousands of meals for Al-Qaeda-affiliated fighters in Syria. Wow. This judge supports terrorists. He wants them to get their billions, while arguing that the Trump administration funding pause caused irreparable harm. Judge Ali failed to consider that his decision could cause irreparable harm to Americans and to American interests, like dead Americans. And so, since this judge supports terrorists, he is engaged in conduct so utterly lacking in intellectual honesty and basic integrity that he is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, and he is unfit to hold the office of federal judge and should be removed with haste. Nice filing. I like that one. And I think that is much more analogous to treason, right? Conspiring with the enemy. So he wants billions of dollars to be funded to Al-Qaeda so that they can arm up and kill us. Great job, Judge Amir Ali. And so we're hopeful that there is more pressure that comes down upon these judges, including from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, of course, gave this guy the ultimate backhand with their order to arouse the judge from his slumber. I don't know if he was actually sleeping or not, but it came out late. I was getting ready for bed. So he's on the East Coast. He's probably getting ready for bed. So the point is, he had to awaken. This is a brand new judge. The guy's like my age, Amir Ali from Canada. He's like, we're gonna do justice now. Just takes the bench. The Supreme Court judge has to come out of here and backhand him from on high. So hopefully the backhand, legal backhand, is felt not only in his courtroom, but in Amy Berman Jackson's courtroom and the rest of them in Washington, D.C., who should stop violating the Constitution and allow the Trump administration to execute the will of the American people as we voted for. All right, so good update on that one. Let's talk about Scott Dellinger. This is the special counsel case. And we're waiting for some action here from the Supreme Court. Here is the latest. The Trump Justice Department now wants to know, what do we do with Hampton Dellinger? We ordered him fired. Judge Amy Berman Jackson shoved him back into the Trump administration to act as a Biden Democrat mole. Once he got back in, he filed to bring in other compatriots with him and take over certain branches of the government, even though he's been fired and Trump said, get out of here. So now what we saw is at the preliminary injunction hearing, Judge Amy Berman Jackson said, I'm not ready to make a decision on this yet. I need to extend this for 3 days. Trump has already been knocking at the door of the Supreme Court saying, guys, our Article 2 power is being insurrected by this Judge Amy Berman Jackson and by this fired special counsel, and we need you to do something about this. So the Justice Department Office of the Solicitor General just sent this one in. Acting Solicitor General Sarah M. Harris, shout out, said the following. To Harris, Clerk of the Supreme Court. It's Harris and Harris in the House. Isn't that funny? I'm sure Sarah Harris, like, oh, what a coincidence. Scott got this letter. He's like, oh, Sarah, funny. Says, all right, dear Mr. Harris, on February 16th, all right, the government filed an application with the Supreme Court to vacate Amy Berman Jackson's restraining order, which was an injunction, in my opinion, that shoved Hampton back into power after Trump fired his booty. Then on February 21st, the Supreme Court came back out and issued an order holding the application in abeyance. So like, well, we got your letter, but we're not going to open it yet. We'll open it and we'll take a look at it after the hearing on the preliminary injunction. Of course, that hearing was on February 26th, the day they wrote this letter, yesterday from the date of this recording, when the TRO was set to expire. Now today, after a hearing on this, the district court extended this again until Saturday, March 1st. They're going, what the hell? So that Amy Berman said, so we could give close consideration to all the pleadings submitted by the parties and complete a written opinion. Ah, gosh. So that means Hampton is still in power and he's still shredding files from his Outlook. Now, in the meantime, the harms to the executive branch from Amy have been even more concrete, says Trump. The same day that this court held the government's application in abeyance, okay, kind of like rubbing their noses in it, like the same day you guys could have solved this, just so you're clear, Supreme Court, thanks for not doing anything. Hampton filed administrative actions before the Merit Systems Protection Board. And he's challenging the 6 probationary employees, okay? So Hampton came back in, and then, like a cancerous infestation, is multiplying. Brought back his other people in, saying respondent sought an immediate 45 stay of those firings, brought 6 people back, while my agency investigates further. Going to go, now he's back in the Trump executive branch, investigating Trump, and announced he's considering ways to seek relief for even more employees. Okay, so this guy who got fired and thrown out is now in, and he's trying to bring back other people. Now, although Hampton had told this court he is an inferior officer that is subject to the MSBP supervision, because if he's an inferior officer, there's theoretically a different set of rules about his removal. If he's a principal officer, the argument would be he's just like the CFPB, the FHFA, or the Social Security Administration, all of whom were fired unilaterally by the president, and that was allowed. He told Hampton, the board, that the board must grant the request for a stay unless the claim is inherently unreasonable. Now, so they're saying, see, there is no discretion. That's beautiful, because Judge Amy Berman Jackson yesterday, as we read through the transcript there, she was just saying, well, the special counsel doesn't have any power. He's just like a peon. He just makes recommendations. No, that's not what he says. He says that you must do what I say. And he sent that in a filing. An MSBP member promptly granted the stay. And guess what? Those people are back in. He then announced these stays represent a small sample of the probationary employees who have been fired when our work is far from done. Everybody should know we're going to continue to pursue these allegations of unlawful firings, and we're going to bring back the rest of the crew, right? The rest of his compadres. Now, in short, says Sarah, a fired special counsel is wielding executive power over the elected executive's objection to halt employment decisions made by other agencies. The MSBP, the entity responsible for this, argues they're deferring his stay request so long as the requests are rational. And by the way, the MSBP is also being led by a chairman who herself was also fired by the president, who also got shoved back in by another district court judge, okay? And we have not paid as much attention to that separate case, but it's the same thing. 2 boards, 2 firings, 2 district court judges, shove them both back in. The special counsel makes filings in front of the other fired person, right? One of the MSBP. So she's like, oh yeah, she's granting everything from number 1, right? It's collusion inside the government. It's an internal mole taking place that's happening, and they're affirming each other, and the district courts are allowing it to happen. These developments, says Sarah, underscore the grounds for vacating this Amy Berman Jackson order. The government respectfully requests and asks this court at minimum to continue to hold the application in abeyance if you don't do anything else, if the court doesn't grant it now that they've extended it. Once the district court issues its final decision, presumably on March 1st, it may be necessary for the government to request further relief, because what she's probably going to do is, the TRO dissolves and she creates a preliminary injunction, which is like a new legal fiction. And then that is what gets appealed. And the plaintiffs in the underlying case were saying, as soon as that happens, Trump's application to the Supreme Court also evaporates, because his application was based on a TRO that will no longer be present once the judge enters her final order. I would appreciate if you would circulate this letter to members of the court so that they know, okay, whatever happens, we're going to be asking if it's necessary for us to appeal further, we will be doing that. Okay, so just let everybody know, like, this is what's happening. This is the timing, and that's going to happen. Now, Hampton said in response, We have no objection to holding this in abeyance. Once the district court resolves this, the TRO will dissolve and the motion to vacate the TRO will become moot, and then they can appeal the preliminary injunction. So Joshua, representing Hampton, circulated that letter as well, and we'll keep our eye on what the Supreme Court does on this. Of course, thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. We want the Supreme Court to extend the same decisions that they created in Selah Law and Collins, which says that the executive branch has unilateral power to fire at will the heads of single-headed agencies like Hampton, like the MSBP, and all of these other branches. They are under the executive branch. The president can fire them. These district court judges should be told accordingly from the Supreme Court. We're going to be here when they do. All right, now we got one final update on the day, and this is about whiny FBI agents. Pathetic, cowardly, whiny FBI agents in this lawsuit known as Jane and John Doe's 1 through 9, because they don't even want their names out there because they're so pathetic. They're suing to stop the Trump Justice Department from identifying who they are. They don't want their names out there. They don't want their names rounded up and gobbled up and sent internally, even within the own agency, because they don't want to be fired for what they've done. And now the Trump Justice Department has submitted their motion to dismiss the FBI agents' claims. And this is a Norm Eisen case. We've talked about this case before, but it was filed via Norm Eisen's office, and you can see along with Mark Zaid. So they filed this originally back on February 4th. You can see from the signature line here, Norm Eisen, State Democracy Defenders Fund. This is one of his. And they sued in, of course, another favorable court. The DOJ is responding here in the District of Columbia. So here is what Trump's people said in response to this complaint by the whiny FBI agents. They say, look, all right, Your Honor, look, we move this court to dismiss these cases. There's two of them. One brought by the FBI agents and another one for failure to state a claim, and they should be dismissed. Here's why. These two consolidated cases are seeking a prophylactic injunction against the executive branch because they fear a public disclosure of a list containing their names, that it might occur at some point in the future. Our names might be leaked, but they fail to provide any supporting facts or establish standing to sue on any actionable claim. Now, although they assert that this disclosure would cause harm to at least some of them, were it to occur, this issue is not even ripe for your consideration, Judge. Here's why. First, the court doesn't have any subject matter jurisdiction over the named plaintiffs, okay? These are pathetic agents who are operating under Doe pseudonyms and the Agents Association, right? It's the FBI AA is one of these entities that is suing. It's like an FBI union. They lack standing. As this court has recognized during other hearings, a fear of something happening is not sufficient, even if you're really fearful. Like, you can be really scared. Doesn't change anything. So they amended their complaints, and they say that there is an imminent risk of public disclosure, but it's all speculation, okay? There's no evidence that anything is coming out. Second, neither the creation of a list by the FBI, if they want to make a list of who worked on the J6 cases, they're allowed to do that, nor the sharing of this list is a violation of anything. Their First Amendment claim does not reflect any activity covered by the First Amendment. Their Fifth Amendment claim also fails because the law they identify under the Privacy Act isn't applicable. There's no process violations, and there's nothing here for them to vindicate. So then they turn to other provisions of the law. They try to bring claims under those laws. But they fail too. And they bring an APA claim. But all of these fail. And so since they have no valid claims, this has to be dismissed at minimum. Their untenable motion should be held in abeyance while you consider our motion to dismiss, because what also is happening here is they're asking for discovery, right? The feds want to go in and say, what are the FBI, officials doing? Saying they're not entitled to discovery here or expedited discovery because they're not even going to win. Here's what happened. On January 20th, The president ordered the attorney general to end the weaponization of the federal government. And there was another order to identify the core team in Washington who is working on the J6 case. In fact, there was an email that was sent out necessitating a directive saying we're trying to get a complete data set to pare down the core team on the J6 cases. In response, the FBI provided to the department a list that identified employees only by their unique employee identifier. So I don't want their names on there. Here's their number and their role. The list was derived from the FBI Sentinel case management system. Then there was a survey. The employees had the option to answer the questionnaire on their own behalf and more. So then 9 people proceeding under a pseudonym like babies are allegedly, they say, employees of the FBI who worked on the J6 and Mar-a-Lago cases. So these are corrupt agents, in my opinion. And it's brought by an association of special agents, forensic examiners, forensic chemists, and intelligence analysts, whatever. So the court consolidated 2 cases. The amended complaint says we're being harmed. We don't want our names out there. But they're just speculating that a list that is provided by the FBI will be used to terminate their employment. But that's all speculation. They also speculate that the list might be leaked outside the government. But again, there's no specific facts about any of that. Now, similarly, they also moved for a temporary restraining order, saying you can't even create this list. Following a hearing, the parties negotiated an order and set briefing schedules. Then 10 days after the TRO, they moved to serve us with discovery requests. They gave us 15 interrogatories and all these other things, but they don't need discovery. All of this should be dismissed. The court should dismiss this because they haven't established a claim here. They don't have standing. They don't even allege a certainly impending future injury. There's just no injury here. It's mere speculation. They're talking about 2 potential future injuries that may or may not happen, but it's speculation. Future potential termination or a future potential leak. They don't want their names on the list, which if they were honorable and above the law, and if they really believed in the work that they were doing, why don't they stand behind their work and their names? Okay, the J6ers had to stand behind their names, even though that they were not afforded the presumption of innocence at all. The FBI and the Washington field office X account was posting their names and celebrating every raid and door kicking in that they could. Thrilled about it. They didn't get any benefit of the presumption of innocence at all. Their names were shared around. FBI had most wanted lists and more. Well, now we have questions about these FBI agents. So we want to know who they are and have their names so that we can cross-reference it with other J6ers and see what they worked on and what cases they popped in on, because we have questions about their lawfulness. We'll give them the presumption of innocence, no doubt about that. But why can't they have the same courage that the J6ers have? Why can they not endure the same public scrutiny that the J6ers endured? Because they're pathetic cowards. It is telling that none of the declarations have been in support of a preliminary injunction. They don't even want to publicize their own names. The remaining declarations from all these other randos are immaterial. Contemporaneous emails to FBI actually say no personnel actions will be taken unless we find misconduct. So we're just gathering the names for our review. And even the FBI is agreeing. Their concerns about public disclosure are also way too speculative. They've not alleged any misuse, and there's no misuse that has happened. They have not alleged any publicly disclosed names at all. And even at the hearing, the court asked them, do you have any specific evidence of this? What is the evidence you have that it's going to be released? Other than speculation, there was none. Those individuals had already voluntarily put their names. They signed an open letter. So they're like, well, some names got out. Well, you signed them on a letter. Idiots, if you don't want your name out there, don't sign your name on the document. But FBI agents don't know that much. So perhaps recognizing the futility of their claims, now they seek to discredit our opposition because they have no evidence. The department is repeatedly represented. It's not going to publicize the list, darn it. But they're going to use it for their own internal efforts. And in a final attempt They point to another statement from Ed Martin. Shout out to Ed Martin, does amazing work. But they've pled no facts of any imminent risk. And all of these people are appearing as does. They have failed even to allege that their names are not already in the public domain. Right? Do we already have your names? Like, is this moot? Like, you keep saying it's going to be so harmful, but we don't even know your names. Are they already in the public? So setting aside their failure to plausibly plead a risk of imminent disclosure list, it's like, well, it can only harm you from disclosure if it's not already disclosed. You want to even tell us if it's been disclosed? And also, right, the entity cannot represent the people. They're claiming the people are the ones that are going to be harmed, but the agency that's representing them is not going to be harmed. So they're not bringing a claim. Nobody can grant relief for them, and you should dismiss this claim. So you can see the rest of the filing. A lot of this is going to talk about discovery. So you can see here discovery requests, but we'll fast forward through that because the argument is you got to dismiss the case. You can't have discovery if the case is dismissed. And so for these reasons, they say the government from Trump respectfully requests the court grant the motion to dismiss, deny the request for discovery, and dismiss both cases in their entirety, signed by Dimitar Georgiev over from the U.S. Attorney's Office out there in D.C. So good filing there. We'll see what the judge does with this, of course. The so-called FBI agents will respond in kind, and we'll see what they say in due course. But we have the director of national intelligence was also out talking about intelligence agencies like the FBI and others, saying she's happy to see that there is a doge happening, happy to see that there's a consolidation of information, and looking forward to future progress.
It is energizing to see the progress that's already been made in, just over a month of the Trump administration, this go around. And so whether it's the impact that Elon and his Doge team are making and a lot of the support that they're providing to us around the table and the actions that are being taken immediately to implement the president's policies, I think around the board, again, people are just absolutely energized.
All right, and I think she's right. Happy to see these changes are being made. Very excited to see where these new leaders take things. Okay, so Pam Bondi has been in there for about 4 weeks now, coming up on 4 weeks, and we're waiting for her to get a handle on things. Kash Patel, even less time. And so we've got deadlines coming up tomorrow. We're excited to see what the FBI delivers over to Pam Bondi and what she releases to us. We're going to be here continuing to cover it. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my friends. Well, we covered some good ground today. If you just joined us, let me give you a quick recap on what we hit today on the show. We spent some time going through what we got from the FBI records vault. A lot of this stuff we've already seen, and read through some of the files that are largely redacted. You can grab the full index over there at vault.fbi.gov. We also saw these police reports with huge, giant redactions inside those materials. Then we learned that Pam Bondi is unhappy about what she did receive and sent a letter over to Kash Patel saying that there should be some additional documents. In fact, every single additional document should be delivered to her desk by tomorrow morning. We're looking forward to that. But as people are reporting who are combing through the records, there's not much more in there in what was released. So the question is why. Many people are speculating as to what that might be. Extra special shout out to Data Republican today. Of course, you know who she is. She's crushing it over on X and is like Neo from the Matrix, showing us what's happening in the code. We also then got updates on the Supreme Court latest because there was a stay granted from Chief Justice John Roberts on the USAID $2 billion slush fund payment case. They were ordered to pay out all that money by midnight last night, right before the clock struck. Judge John Roberts came in and stopped it from happening, ordered further briefing happening by tomorrow, which is going to be Friday. And so we're excited to go through that. So more briefs coming in tomorrow. Thanks for subscribing. We'll be going through that one when we're back here to see what SCOTUS may do. We also talked about Hampton Dellinger the fired special counsel who's been shoved back in and who is now bringing other people back in with him. And the Supreme Court got letters from the Trump DOJ. We'll see if they have any updates for us on that one tomorrow. And the FBI Agents Association, and all the pathetic Jane Does now have to respond to a motion to dismiss from Trump's DOJ. And we'll see what that one has in store for us. But it's been a heck of a stream, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Now it's time to hear from you. And let's see what you have to say about this. Thank you for these amazing donos and super chats, and welcome new members. We members only streams, by the way. We're 1 hour early tomorrow. 1 hour earlier tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. my time. 10 Eastern is when the Membo stream will be tomorrow. We hope to see you over there. All right, let's see who's joining us today. Hey, what's going on? We have some great comments. Thank you for clipping these. Sandy sent this one in. Oh, good afternoon. It's little birdie. What's this birdie's name? Oh, good afternoon. It's Thursday. Twinkles, Sprinkles, Peacock, Pigeon. I can't remember. All right, Sandy says any criminal defense attorney will use this to get the charges dropped. She admits evidence hidden and in a manner of misconduct. She saw to it no prosecutions can ever come. From Sandy, and she was linking to the Pam Bondi article. Yeah, and to be honest with you, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. If this is really happening, this is not good. Like, if she ordered them, they gave her 200 pages, and there's like 2 million pages. Like, what is that about? Where are all the records? It's not good. Oh, Tweety Bird. I didn't say that. That's Tweety. I knew that one. Hello. Yeah, Sandy, I think this is a problem. Now, I think, if there were FBI agents who destroyed evidence and obstructed evidence, I think they should be charged with crimes for that. So, like, you might be right that the Johns who actually used Epstein's service, there may not be enough evidence to go after them. But if we can't go get them, then we should get the people who made it impossible to get them. And that would be the FBI agents. So if they deleted it, they should be next. Ollie, what's up, Ollie? Thank you for bringing Gen X in the house. Welcome, Gen X. We'll see you on the morning stream. Drake Tungsten. What's up, Drake Tungsten? Thank you for becoming a supporter. Check out the members only stream from this morning. Jeffrey Adams with a good question. Rob, is it a violation for an attorney not to disclose a conflict of interest in a case that they're involved in? For example, Norm Eisen and his daughter versus USAID. Yeah, so attorneys do have duties of candor, and under the ethical rules, we have a duty to disclose certain conflicts. I think the real duty is to not get into conflicts of interest, and if one emerges, so like when a new client comes to your office, you don't want to be representing people who are conflicted with one another. So like in a criminal law case, for example, a conflict might emerge if you've got a big fight that happens or something happens and co-defendants might be blaming each other. Okay, that's a problem. Like I can't represent two people. Let's say I represent this person who was in a fight, this person who was in a fight. Both of them say someone else started it. Evidence comes out, looks like maybe they started it. Now they're pointing fingers at each other. This guy says he started it. You said you started it. Now I got to represent both of them. I can't do that, right? That's a conflict. They have opposing interests. Here, Norm Eisen and his daughter, I don't think, have opposing interests that would invalidate his ethical duty to his client. So, for example, Norm Eisen is representing, let's say, NGO hack, whatever it is, doesn't matter. They want USAID money on. Norm Eisen wants USAID money on. Daughter wants USAID money on. So their interests are all aligned. If it was different, if Norm Eisen was representing a client and client wanted money on, but daughter was working with Elon and Doge on the opposite end, on the opposite side, then Norm might want to say, hey guys, like my daughter, I'm representing you to turn money back on, but I love my daughter and she's fighting to take money off. So maybe I should disclose that to you, right? Might be more of a conflict. But even then, I don't know that he would have an obligation to remove himself from that. But they're all aligned. just because they have interests that are adverse to the government. And it goes to Norm's credibility, certainly. Like, yeah, the guy, come on, like, we know why you want this money. It's because all your friends are getting paid and your family too. So that's why. Like, don't tell us you care about state democracy or whatever. Like, it's obviously your credibility is a disaster. But I don't know if that would amount to an ethical violation. Hey, Sergeant! Man, Sergeant says, got my diamond today in the house. 1 full year on the locals. Sergeant, I feel like you've been around a lot longer than that. But got my diamond today. Just wanted to thank you, Rob, and the Watcher community, which is really where it counts, for keeping me sane this last year. What a roller coaster. Guess you guys are stuck with me for another year. Heck yeah, Sergeant. Man, we love you, Sergeant. Sergeant is an amazing member of our community. Great, and glad to have you, Sergeant, for another year. Thanks for being here for a full year to get here, and we're excited for another one. Glocky, the pictures of all the influencers holding up binders was cringe. And if I was Trump or Cash, I'd be embarrassed by it. Totally cringe. Comes off unserious and clownish, says Glocky. If I was one of those influencers, I think I'd be also questioning or irritated with the possibility that the White House might have tried to exploit you for a photo op. You know, like, in other words, I don't know that I blame the influencers at all. Like, they were just walking out with a binder that they got handed from the White House. I think the question I would be really concerned about would be, why did the White House hand us a bunch of binders and send us out there, knowing that we would get photographed with it? Like, what were they trying to do? Trying to act like they handed something out when they really didn't? So I am more cringed at the White House than anybody who was there, to be honest, Glocky. Hey, Yvette Tevenal. And it's not like they came out with like a binder full of goods either. It's like they kind of wanted them to be useful in their photo op, psyop, to try to convince people that they actually released something when they didn't. And if I were there walking out with a binder and say, why did you just use me in this attempt to try to like scam a release of something that you didn't release? Now, again, the people who were in that room, like Cernovich, we played his clip earlier, read from his tweet earlier. He said, you know, they're being educated about what's coming next. And so they're saying, look, this is the story that's going to come. So just hold on. Honestly, today felt like a big fat pacifier in our mouths. Did it not? It's like a big fat pacifier. Here you go. Here. You want your Epstein files? Here, stop your crying. And just gave everybody a binder, just gave us, a stupid letter. And like, that's it. Just quit your crying here. Here, little Robbie. Here, just shut up. Talk about something else. Glocky, thank you. Yvette Tevenal. Yvette, thank you for becoming a supporter. We appreciate you joining up on the tubes. We'll see you tomorrow on the morning stream. Gopher, big guy. You know, Gopher says, it's time to fire Pam. You know, she's beyond useless. Like, okay. We have known for months that they have been destroying evidence for months of all their crimes, and absolute crap has been done to stop them. The Insurrection Act is called for. It's like, look, Gopher, big guy. First of all, thank you for the nice dono. I appreciate your comment. I understand and empathize with the frustration, for sure. And it does feel like I'm skeptical about the whole thing. I just don't even know what's left, to be honest. This has been going on for decades now. And if they've got the capacity to take out Epstein, if you believe he's dead, and okay, well, they took him out. Unless you're like, no, it was suicide. Some people think that. If you think he's dead, all right, they killed him. If you think it was an operation to extract him, you go, wow, that's pretty big too. Either way, they took out a dude in federal prison, or they evacuated him from federal prison and he's still on an island somewhere. Either way, do you think they're going to leave the files behind? I don't think so. So, Gopher, I understand the frustration. I'm not sure what Pam can do, to be honest with you. Like, there may not be anything there by the time she gets there. Not that that's an excuse. I still think that if that is the case, if we end up in that situation, somebody should be prosecuted for this. Okay, whoever deleted the evidence or whoever is obstructing these files from being delivered to her, there needs to be heads for something in Epstein other than Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, that is lunacy. But I'm also empathetic with Pam because she's been in office for less than 4 weeks. She just got sworn in on the 4th. Cash just got sworn in like 2 weeks ago. So they're wrapping their arms around a mega operation that's way bigger than just some sex trafficker, okay? Like, that's not what this is. There is sex trafficking, don't get me wrong, but it's much bigger than that. And that was just the entry fee, okay? Then you got hooked. Then you became compromat. You became collateral. So it's a huge operation. I don't know ultimately what we're going to get out of it. I have my doubts just because I think that the bad stuff's probably already gone, if I had to be honest with you. What's going on? Doc, no. House Judiciary rickrolls people instead of linking to the Epstein files. WTF is wrong with these people? You're right, Doc. I have no idea. Like, I understand the new trend of the government accounts, which is to be like fun and hip and like whatever the kids are saying, you know, lit or whatever. I don't know. But that was not it. Whoever published that was not it. It should be deleted. Waldo. Melanie Marino is coming in. Thank you, Waldo, and welcome, Melanie. We'll see you tomorrow. Glocky says the GOP needs to get their act together and start acting seriously. If they're acting like amateur clowns over the Epstein files being released, they're going to be taken unseriously when they actually get to a budget or other issues. Yeah, what happened today with Epstein was not great. Whatever this release was, it was not great. Not real happy about what we were promised, what we were delivered, how they were delivered, and how they almost tried to like sell it to us as like phase one. Like, I'm still like, there better be a friggin' phase two. I'll tell you what, if phase two is more, you know, we're looking into it, it's over. Okay, when is phase two coming out? Is it tomorrow? Luann, what's up, Luann? Thank you, Luann, for becoming a supporter. We'll see you tomorrow. We got Pirate Skellington says, you think they're going to come clean about the whole Jeffrey Island being a honeypot operation? We give you power. We get to keep dirt on you. Yeah, I that's the thing. It's like, I don't think so. And we got into this morning on Local, so members, forgive me. But if it was just a trafficking thing and Jeffrey's just a sex freak or whatever, then we would have the materials, okay? Even if there were other people who were implicated that were, you know, let's say not the Prince of England, then I think we know more about this. But the reason we don't know about it is because it's too big to know about. Like, they can't tell us. If we start getting a whiff, if we get a scent, we're going to track it down and the whole structure will come crumbling apart. So I have my doubts about it. What's up, Paul Croak? Good to see you. Thank you, Paul, for the nice dono coming in from across the pond. What's up? Norman Lee Smith Music says SDNY has gone rogue. Yeah, they've been rogue for a while. Good to see you, Norman Lee Smith Music. Have you guys checked out his tunes yet? Norman Lee Smith Music. Look it up on all your devices. What's up? Gifted Membos coming in here, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Tony Hay Munkets, you rock. 5 Membos. What's up? Rob Morgan coming in. Mr. Potato. We got Carl Wendell. Dagon Illy is here. We got Alan Baumel, gifted Membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay. Welcome, new Membo friends. Hey, Gimme More. Gimme More is here. 10 Membos coming in from More Here. Thank you, More Here. Look who's here. Crimlon. We got Some Guy Who Cares. We got Joe Masters, Jim Parsons, Bella E. What's up, Keith Cafe, Ross Allen. The artist formerly known as Dr. John Cuckask is here. Wow, that's a long name. Welcome back. Hey, Badger Pack and Bree, gifted Membos, courtesy of More Here. Gimme More here. Thank you, Gimme More. What's up, Sandy Apolonio? Welcome aboard. We'll see you tomorrow on the Membo stream. Sandy Apolonio. Will Crump is here. Says, did the Defiant field office do all this redacting, or did Pam? What's the point of releasing if all the identifying material is gone? What a joke. Yeah. Yeah, there are certain reasons to redact certain things, but like the idea we're going to get a list of names or something, I think is just not going to happen. So we'll just keep our wishful thinking here. Chubby, what's up? Those Epstein files, so Illuminati. I mean, illuminating. There's definitely not a big global conspiracy or cabal that's happening at all. Thank you, Chubby. Hey, free men die free. This says it'd be a real shame if we all stop paying taxes. Yeah, it'll be a lot easier when there's no IRS. Hey, Michael Pearson. Thank you, Michael, for becoming a supporter. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only stream. Spud says, is this the Mad Libs version? Yeah, it's basically like Mad Libs. Remember those games you fill in? You're like banana and like angry, like pick a verb. Angry, pick a noun. You know, apple, whatever. Like Rob got angry at the apple on the seashore. What? Yeah, kind of. Hey, Essential Bites. Great news. Hubby off the ventilator. Amazing news, Essential Bites. Thank you for the prayers. My friends, thank you for sending those prayers in for husband, Essential Bites. Glad he's on the mend, Essential Bites. Thank you for being here for 1 full year. Happy anniversary to everybody here celebrating on behalf of Essential Bites, saying I can't thank you enough. We can't thank you, Essential Bites. Thanks for being here for 12 full months. It's a lot. We're grateful for you. Hey, Glocky says, this is an absolute total crap show. Yeah, a lot of people are unhappy with those binders that were handed out. Yeah. Brian Hinkle, thank you, Brian, for handing out a Truth is Treason memo. We appreciate you, Brian, and welcome Truth is Treason. Truth is treason? I guess to the people who are the tyrants of ignorance. To them, truth is treason. Rob, MySpace is like a site for music artists or so now. It's useless. I went there, made sure my account had been deleted. Like in 2010, we want to see the videos. Just redact the victims and the other stuff. Hey, Sharpie guy, had to bail out on this one. It says, Rob, I'm out, Rob. We all know. And having you read and read more was disgusting to me. So I'm checking out. Yeah, that's what happens on some of these. The Epstein cases. Yeah, they're rough. Hey, Chad Brummett. Thank you, Chad. Very nice dono. We appreciate you, Chad. Thank you. Says, releasing the Epstein file seems like a bad idea from 2 directions. 1, implies guilt, provides no way to defend your reputation. If no charges come, we get trained to expect no charges from what we assume happened. This is why it is not the practice of justice. Yeah, I think people, I understand what you're saying, right? And in fact, Alan Dershowitz, Chad, wrote an article about this that I read some of, and he was explaining, because he's been accused of a bunch of stuff. He's saying you got to release everything, because if you only release partial things, then you can run into this problem, right? You can get guilt by association. Maybe you hopped on an airplane one time, nothing happened at all. You're just there talking business. You land on the island. You're like, this dude's a freak show. You get the hell out of there, but your name's on the list. You're like, I had nothing to, you could be totally innocent. Like, I understand that. So how do you disambiguate between the things? So Pam has a real big responsibility on her hands. And how do you release names of people without validating whether they're criminals or not? And if you do release them, you got to either exonerate them if they're named, right? You got to internally either exonerate them, or there will be calls for you to go prosecute that person. So you got to be pretty thorough about it too. Like, she is not in an enviable position. This is the biggest crap sandwich that anybody could be handed ever. It's like, wait a minute. I just came into office. I got to process 20 years of government corruption and cover-up of one of the most disgusting people in the world, probably covered up by our own government, the CIA and foreign powers. All the files are, garbage and manipulated and perverted. And now I've got the entire American public clamoring at me to release everything right now. It's like, gosh, you do not want that job. But we want justice. So how do you do that? You got to make some hard decisions, and not everybody's going to be happy. But if she releases stuff, and Gates is in there, and Hoffman's in there, and all these other people, they're going to lawyer up. They got a lot of resources. And so this could be, a giant can of worms, which we know. But you're right. It's not. I think people, and even Representative Luna, who are screaming at Pam Bondi to just publish all the PDFs, I don't think it's quite that simple. And I'm willing to give her a little bit of benefit of the doubt on here. Let's give her 90 days. Let's give her a little bit of time to process it. But I also have to say that what happened today didn't feel entirely above board. Felt like it was kind of like a pacifier. Here you go. This is just in here. Take this little binder and some of these documents and just shut up. Just go give it to your stupid audience, and they'll think it's fine. Like, we're not that dumb. Felt a little condescending. It's like, we're going to need more than that. Now, I say that with the caveat that they're telling us it is phase 1, so that there will be more. But again, I'm doubtful that there's going to be more. So we'll see. If they come out with phase 2 and it's more garbage, then we'll know it's all a joke. Sandy, Here is Cash responding to this. Cash posted this on X, says, the FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity and accountability and the unwavering pursuit of justice. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned, and anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued and brought to justice. That's my point exactly. Charge them. If there are gaps in the Epstein investigation, we will find them. If the records have been hidden, we will uncover them. We will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is to the law and to the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise. Exactly, right? So this game of telephone that's been happening from administration to administration and FBI person, FBI deleting all this stuff. If we can't prosecute the Johns who used Epstein, we prosecute the people who covered up and protected the Johns. And it sounds like that's what Cash just said. So I'm willing, right, to give them the benefit of the doubt, give them some time. We don't need to be barking at them every day. Where are the files? Where are the files? Where are the files? Now, if we fast forward 6 months from now and we haven't seen progress on this or JFK or RFK, then we're getting hung out to dry. But they're wrapping their heads around something that is just, it's really unfathomable because our own government was involved in it for decades. And they gave Epstein that stupid non-prosecution agreement and were trying to cover up for his PDF files. It was shocking. So, I mean, the scope of this thing, I think you do have to pause and just reflect on. It's like, wow. All right. That being said, we want the files. Lethal Old says, I hope she asked the U.S. Attorney's Office for the files like they likely have the lion's share since they prosecute and used Maxwell, not all the Indians' residual agents. Yeah, and in multiple jurisdictions, right? There was one out in New Mexico. There was one in Florida. There was one in Manhattan. We saw photos from those three, and I feel like there was a fourth location too. Rob, wonder if Hunter or Joe were there on the island or the house. Joe likes some young. Yeah. Hunter, well, so does he. Good to see you, Chubby. Chubby says, upon hearing Justice Roberts' order, I got the mental image of a doctor screaming to his wife at 11 p.m. Cancel the yachts purchase, Gladys. We've been redoged by SCOTUS. Is that, I don't know if that's how you envisioned it in your mind, Chubby, but that's how I read it. It's probably how it went down exactly verbatim in Robert's household. Alan Harkin. Alan, you're the man. We appreciate you. Thank you for always being so generous here and supporting our work. You're the man. Says, awesome. You know, it's silly to repeat the obvious, but you are indeed are fair and awesome. Thank you for your continued fair, truthful legal analyses, even when folks don't like it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Alan. I was hopeful to come on the show here today, like, look at all these documents we've got. We're going to be reading documents for days. Everyone's going down. We're going to mind map every single disgusting person you can imagine here. But that didn't happen. And we got to ask ourselves why. And what's the likelihood of ultimately getting them? I feel like if they had stuff that they could release to us, they probably would have had it today. As I said, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see what they can come up with in 30 days, 60 days. But part of me just thinks it's not there. I don't know what they're going to release if it's not there. So, Alan, thank you for that, my man. We appreciate you being here. Always a nice treat to have your donos and comments here. And major thanks coming at you from the chat, too. Beach Life, RP Games, Shane saying thank you from the Watcher fam. Beach Life saying thank you. Yeah, amazing stuff. Alan, thanks again, brother. Have a great night. We got this one from Pinochet. Says, Rob, in regards to Jack Smith, what do you make of the concept that the DOJ waived attorney-client privilege in regard to the whole case of the law firms working with Smith, and so you could get every communication, etc.? Yeah, I think it's an interesting argument, and the mechanism by which you would do that is the only, I think, real roadblock to getting that remedy. So, and I mean that because the way that this worked, I think what you're referencing, and this came up a little bit yesterday, I think what you're referencing is, hey, they broke Trump's attorney-client privilege and made his attorneys come in and testify against him, right? Why don't we do that with Jack Smith? The difference is that those waivers of attorney-client privilege were being granted in Washington, D.C. by corrupt judges, in my opinion, like Beryl Howell, They broke Trump's privilege to get Trump. They wouldn't want to break Jack's privilege to get Jack because they're friendly judges. So I think that's the downfall to that theory. But if you could say that Jack Smith, right, is not entitled to attorney-client privilege because he was getting legal advice in advance of a further crime or to anticipate committing a further crime, you'd say that's not protected by the privilege. So you can't claim that, right? So you could probably find a way to do it and it would be useful, but you got to get a judge to do it. And why? I am so glad Roberts dispensed with Judge Ali's nonsense. I'm hoping the Supremes were waiting for enough rope through this arbitrary and ridiculously broad and confusing rulings. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it got to. Like Roberts waited to the last. He's like, I have to step in now. Because if Roberts didn't step in, then Trump is not paying. We read the order yesterday from Rubio in the notice. Rubio said, we made the payments. Other payments we're not making. Like, this is it. That was, I paid my bill. We read that notice yesterday. So if Roberts didn't stay this, there would have been a violation of a court order waking up this morning. And we would have had a constitutional crisis that was brought about by Amir unnecessarily. And the judges obviously didn't let that happen. And why? We got up to the line, man. Says, not sure if Amir meets the impeachment test. I do not believe the founders envisioned superior courts, inferior courts below the Supreme Court to be able to enjoin the entire executive branch. If the Supreme Court doesn't bring these low federal courts in line, Congress needs to remove jurisdiction and establish a way that executive branch actions can be challenged in court. It should be very difficult and perhaps limited to appellate courts only. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Some clarity on that. Stands with a beer. Welcome aboard, Stands with a Beer. Glad to have you here. See you tomorrow on the Membo stream. Fred Pedamonte says, now the FBI is afraid of leaking. How priceless is that? Yeah, they don't want their names leaked because they don't want to stand by their work. Pathetic. Jeffrey Adams. Rob, I think I read that Big Fanny has been subpoenaed to testify before the Georgia Senate under oath about Nathan Wade. I did see headlines about Big Fanny. I was thinking about covering her today, but there's just been so much to cover, man. It's been a lot. So maybe we'll get to Fanny tomorrow. Hey, Paul Ross. Thank you, Paul Ross, for the nice dono. No comment on it, Paul, but we appreciate it. Thank you for supporting our work today. And Lenny says, God bless you. And I agree with Lenny. The Car Czar says the problem is Pam Bondi was already talking on TV about the files in depth and how elaborate they are, including over 250 victims. And now all of a sudden she doesn't have them? As a huge Trump supporter, this is a problem. It looks bad. You're right. She did say that. She did. She went on with, what's his face? From Fox. Anyways, was talking to him, Jesse Waters, and explaining that they're all in her desk. She's looking at them. They're going to release them soon. So was she only looking at like the 200 pages little crossword puzzle book? Like, here, just send her the crossword puzzle. Do you have your Sudoku book? Yeah, just send that over to them. They'll have no idea what it is. They'll think it's like Jeffrey Epstein's secret code. I don't know, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And the little binder gimmick was like a pacifier for adults. It was pathetic. Like, oh, just they'll buy it. The Chugi Show says late to the party and at the beginning, but statute of limitations is going to be an issue when trying to prosecute any suspected Epstein clients. Yeah, that's also true too. That's also absolutely. I mean, unless it's like, I think with underage people though, there might be an argument that there is no statute of limitations, especially if it was just discovered or something. So, but who are you going to prosecute, right? You're not prosecuting Jeffrey, so you got to go prosecute the other people. But you're right. It is a big issue. Statute of limitations could be a big issue. There are extenuating circumstances when it's underage people and when it's crimes like an R. Sometimes you can make arguments that you could extend the statute of limitations, and we're also, or there are no statute of limitations for some of those crimes. So, and we're not talking just at the federal level. We're also talking at the state level. So it is a good point. It might limit prosecutions, but it depends. Great point, though. The Chugi Show. Hey, Real with Robo. Hey, prayers for my husband. He has neck surgery. Yeah, next, man. I hope it gets worked out for him real with Robo. Send in prayers to Robo's husband, neck surgery. Here's to a speedy recovery, excellent, perfect incisions, the best repair that you could possibly imagine, and a speedy recovery. We'll have you back here soon. Thank you, Real with Robo. Chris Slap, what's up, Chris? Amazing. I Ain't That Good also became a supporter. We got 2 new members. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the morning stream. And grab the morning stream from this morning. Deborah Myers is bringing in a new friend. Thank you, Deborah, for doing this. William Allen just came aboard. Welcome, William. And Deborah, almost 18 months, 17 months. Almost 2 full babies, Deborah. That is a long time. We're so excited to have them here. Raider Gaines says, DC Drano just live streamed the pages. One thing I'll say is a bunch of names are now unredacted compared to what was previously released. All right. So he may have something in that binder that we haven't seen yet. Thank you, Raider Gaines, for the update. We'll see if we can get a full scan of what's in those binders. Hey, this old guy says, we need to check on grocery deliveries to Epstein Island. If someone is there, they have to eat. It's a good point. Yeah, like, are they door dashing over there? Are there drones? Who knows? I don't know. This old guy. Jigam is saying, is this phase 2? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe soon. Those are pretty good looking babies, I'd say. But those biceps just look pathetic. So I can't take any ownership of this. But almost 2 babies. Is that those are babies? Jigam's a diamond membo over on the locals. Phase 2. Those kids actually look kind of like my little brother actually looked like when he was a baby. He kind of looks like little Eric. Funny, man. But look at those pathetic little biceps. I'm embarrassed by those, okay? I would never allow that. And there's a wedding ring too. Oh my gosh, what's happening here? All right, don't show that to my mom, okay? She'll lose it. Thank you, Jigam. Jigam in the house. Meme Smith extraordinaire. Accelerating the timeline digitally. What's up? Deborah Myers says, I just kind of sit in background taking it all in. Thank you, Rob, for all you do. I enjoy just being in here. Very knowledgeable. Thank you very much. Deborah, thank you for that. I'm really glad that you're here. You know, we learn a lot together. I'll tell you that, because a lot of the things we talk about here have never happened before. It's true. It's like, well, they're doing this now, I guess. Oh, judge is doing this. Okay, let's figure out the hell's going on here. It's pretty interesting that it's all happening the way it's happening. We get to go through it together in this way. It's a real treat and an honor. Thank you, Deborah, for that one. Knox is here. Says, hey, happy Thursday, all. You know, MySpace is like from 2003, right? Epstein is long gone, and by their silence, we can assume, a la the senators, that everyone in the government had intercourse with, I'd rather discuss why there are, bad things for infants on our border, which is what Knox, yeah. So I think like Knox is directionally accurate here. All of this is so ancient. It's like, if we can't get it today, if we can't get it in the next 30 days, it's probably gone. Deluxe Knight, hey, great stream again today. Thank you, Deluxe Knight. I totally agree with your frustration. It's the feeling of actually being gaslit by the very people we all approved of in our executive branch. It's 100% disgusting. Talk about wishing in one hand and dumping in the other. Tell us which fills the first. Yeah, it is frustrating. We're not in like, absolute outrage fury mode because it is early. And I do have hope and faith that if they can't get us the files, that they're going to give us an explanation for where the files are, what happened to them, who is responsible for those. And that would be a consolation prize, not what we ultimately want, because we want justice. We want repercussions for the cover-up and the crimes, clearly. So thank you, Deluxe Knight. Hey, Esther Roberts. Yeah, says James Comey's daughter is the assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. And guess what happened? She also ran the trial against Ghislaine Maxwell. Remember? Maureen Comey is her name. She was leading the prosecution against Ghislaine. We're going, oh gosh, this whole thing is rigged. Hey, King Asphalt. What's up, King Asphalt? Says Bindi's credibility was a popcorn toot. What? Bindi's, like Biden's? Yeah, Biden had as much credibility as gas out of his bum. Camu5. What's up, Camu5? Thank you for joining over on Rumble. Greatly appreciate you signing up for that. Camus in the house on Rumble. Great to see you over there. Rob Morgan says somebody used to child something to take over our entire government. You're with MAGA or MEGA. Choose wisely. And I think I think I know what that comment's about. Thank you, Rob. What's up? Just Rhonda says, wow, I'm struggling with all of the instant disgust, hate, and turning against Pam Bondi. I guess I choose patience over anger. I see. I'm struggling with all of the instant disgust and hate and turning against Pam. I guess I'm choosing patience over anger. I'm not ready to give up on her for this stupid mistake she made. Yeah, and I'm trying to, I'm trying to figure out like where to properly place and attribute any blame that is necessary. I'm with you. We're still operating from a place of, I think, the benefit of the doubt. Like, let's look at things in a light most reasonable to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. They're on our side after all. So if you're MAGA and Trump and Republicans, like, let's give them a minute to do some work on this before you start throwing them under the bus, Representative Luna. Maybe just, like, we know you've got an urgency here. We appreciate that urgency, but just give them a minute because there are really powerful forces at play. This isn't like a traffic ticket or some other crime. This is like an international intelligence operation that was conducted on American soil by somebody. So it's a pretty precarious position. And depending on your position on it, like they took out Epstein and stuff like that. So in a federal prison. So there's a lot to it. I'm not ready to toss Pam or Kash or any of those people overboard at all. I think we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's hear from them. And I don't know how much involvement they had with the release today, right? That might have been somebody else, like a PR person or somebody who thought this would be good from the press department or something like that. So I don't know that they're like, let's give them all binders and just call it phase one. I don't know if that was a Bondi or a Kash thing, but whoever did that, I think, wasn't thinking about those influencers, those creators who were there, or maybe was and was trying to exploit them for that little stupid photo op, which I didn't appreciate. Pinochet says, no, I mean Jack Smith was using the outside firm for something. Yeah, Jack Smith was doing so on behalf of the DOJ. The DOJ can now waive the attorney-client privilege and release all the work product emails. Oh, I see what you're saying. Waive it on behalf of Jack Smith so they could waive it for Jack. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the courts would do with that. Would the courts allow the DOJ to waive it on behalf of Jack Smith, who was appointed special counsel in a separate matter? That's my point. Like, you got to get it to a judge who would then waive it. But the DOJ should have a bunch of files, presumably, if Jack left them. Like, whatever they've got that Jack was using, they should have. But I guess I would say, like, if Jack wants that privilege maintained between him and his attorneys that gifted him those fees, the DOJ would have to take that to a judge and get the judge to do it. In fact, Trump ordered a review of all agencies who work with the law firm. Any work they did on behalf of the government, the DOJ can waive privilege and expose all their taxpayer-funded secrets, from Pinochet's helicopter tours. Chubby says, regarding the statute of limitations for Epstein, could making it a RICO case bypass that or circumvent that? Yeah, actually, I think that's a great idea, Chubby, because they did that in the Diddy case, as we've talked about. Remember the Diddy case, they called it RICO, right? Racketeering, and the racketeering is made up of a bunch of other acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. And so he got like 3 charges. I think they added some more. We haven't updated that case in a while. But yeah, basically Diddy, they couldn't charge him for the assault of that woman in that hotel room. They couldn't charge him for all of these other crimes because they're too old. The statute of limitations have already expired. So what they did is they just said, oh no, this is ongoing. This is an ongoing conspiracy. And so they went back. They said the ongoing conspiracy comes all the way up to now, and they found some act in furtherance that's close. And they went all the way back, way past the statute of limitations, and they said, oh, that was an act in furtherance of this ongoing conspiracy, which was sex trafficking, which was just transporting an adult prostitute in an airplane across state lines, which is what I would say 50% of our elected leaders have done in Washington, D.C., if you had to guess maybe conservatively, right? Flew someone out for intercourse. It's a thing that happens in D.C. Ask Governor Pritzker about this, right? They all are into this stuff, or maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, right, are doing this type of behavior, flying people out. Doesn't make it sex trafficking. They called it that so that he would be non-bondable. Then they called it a RICO case so they could go back in time to find all of these other misdemeanors or maybe even felonies, but that had expired. They just called it ongoing and they bundled all those up. So yeah, they could easily do it, Chubby. I think that would be a good methodology. EOD Cookie says SCOTUS needs to act and protect the executive branch because we are at a point of a constitutional crisis with rogue judges usurping Article 2 and inserting themselves as the president. SCOTUS is giving them legitimacy by failing to act and undermining the will of the people. Dellinger should be out right now. Right now, indeed. EOD Cookie. Thank you for that. 75%? Yeah, that's a lot. I don't know. G-Gum. Hey, for all the prayers you and the community have given to the Watching the Watchers members these past few weeks, it means a lot. It's a fam in here. G-Gum, very nice, Dono. Thank you for that. And G-Gum, our meme smith extraordinaire, created this mashup. And this is an old one. We got some familiar faces in here, but I see, like, for example, Vientikis is here. Vientikis has moved on to greener pastures. We've got Paul Mino. Bonnie's still here. C. Reed's mom is still here. We got our good friend still in the house. So it is a great meme. Thank you, Gigum, for sending that one in. And we appreciate you loving the fam up here. And we love our fam here. We love all of you. All right, let's see who's joining us on Telegram, on X rather, before we round it up and go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We want to say hello to our friends on X. And here they are. We got James. Says the U.S. Supreme Court can act as an actual court for circumstance. If the D.C. courts are going to stop all actions, wouldn't that force trials to take place in SCOTUS as a remedy for impeachment? Fred says the people allowed our government to become what it has. The Chevron doctrine made it so for years. That's why no one cares what Congress asks for. They gave up their power to the administrative state a long time ago. John McGuire says, I can't believe they redacted all the pictures in the Epstein files. I know, I really wanted to know who was behind this one. Maybe the House GOP can figure it out for us. Jerks. Hey, what's up? John McGuire says, check out page 42. You chumps think you're going to be given real information? Oh, this looks like it's page 42, according to John McGuire. Wow, this is shocking. Look at this, page 42. Here it is. Wow. I know. You're shocked, just like I am. Can't even believe it. Hey, what's up, Rella Bella? What the hell's the point? No idea. Kelly, these are old files. We know. Skyfall, it's just so difficult to accept the FBI is covering up pedophilia. Does this feel like a game of Mad Libs to you? Remember that? Yeah, sort of. Department of Noticing. What's up, Captain Bizarre? Says most of these files are already public. Yeah, we know. So what we don't know is if there's a scan rendering of what was in those binders, but I'm doubtful that there's anything much more. The suggestion came from a reply to Julie Kelly last night. Good Logic went over it lightly last night as well. Yeah, I would say anything. I don't think it's a bad suggestion. I just think if like Jack Smith, the person who is the client typically holds the privilege, right? So if I represent you, you can waive the privilege. I can't waive the privilege on your behalf. So if Jack Smith holds the privilege, I don't know what the scope of his representation was or what that was about or whatever he was gifted. It might be personal stuff, might be unrelated to the DOJ work. I don't know. But that would be his privilege to hold. So whoever is breaching that would have to have justification for it. And the DOJ already should have gobs of his files and everything that he was working on from his office and his emails and all of those things. So I don't know that they necessarily need to do that. The Trump privilege was shattered and there was a private counsel, right? Trump was not in the office of the president anymore. That was breaching his private attorney. And a judge in DC did that, Beryl Howell. So you'd have to have the same mechanism with Jack Smith if he's saying that those are private conversations and private representation. If they were related to work at the DOJ specifically, right, then I think the DOJ would have some argument or some claim to invalidate that, but they'd have to find a judge to do it. Knox is here. Says here, sharing James O'Kay's newest work on the border. James O'Keefe's newest work on the border. So check that out. I'm sure it's amazing. And Raider Gaines says Bondi just released the files. Bondi just released the files from Raider Gaines. All right. And so great comments, my friends. We are going to leave it there. We're going to head over to Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It has been an absolutely amazing stream. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for inviting a friend or family member to come on over here and join us when we go live. It's much more fun when we get to do it together. And so we're pausing for the evening. Tomorrow, we are coming back to get into it again. Members, 1 hour earlier tomorrow, 8 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then we'll be back here for the regular show at the regular time. Before we wrap up, we want to say thank you to our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod the fort down for us and keep things oh so nice and beautiful. The amazing K-Bean, Donut, Carrie B, Playin' Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janek, modding the fort down for us, keeping things so nice and beautiful around here. My friends, once again, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging with us and for going through this news. I think that there is a lot more to come, and we'll be back tomorrow to get into it again. And so I want to thank you for being here. We are coming back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.